Flosstube, it's Sian here, Periwinkle Stitcher. It's Friday the 9th of May and I just thought I'd pop on and do like a Flosstube extra to give you a little update on how we got along at the Stacy Nash retreat down at Cowslip Studios in Launceston in Cornwall. It was the most fun time, the most incredible trip, and I'm gonna do a nice sort of photo slideshow thing at the end so you can get a feel of what it's like down there in remote Cornwall. I left on the Saturday because the retreat was Sunday, Monday, first thing at 10 o'clock it started. So it's such a long way from Wales. It's about a 3-hour trip. I thought I would go down the night before. I think most people did. So on Saturday, I left on Saturday afternoon. I knew I had to get there in time for 7 o'clock to watch the snooker, where I'm a massive fan of Mark Williams, who's Welsh, and had got through to the final against the young Chinese player, Yao. So I didn't want to miss that. So I got down there to my little hotel and even had my own private little pub, actually, but they don't open it to the public. So when I arrived, I had half a lager in my own private pub and then went up to my room and watched the snooker. So it was great. I had a wonderful trip down on Saturday afternoon in glorious sunshine, and the roads were really quiet considering it was a bank holiday here in the UK. So it was just all meant to be. So I woke up Sunday, went down, had breakfast in the little pub. It was lovely. And then I went a little bit early because I couldn't remember how long it took to get to Cowslip. And I've got a little photo slideshow in at the end of the pictures when I arrived there on Sunday morning. I must have been there about 9:30. And I'd seen the night before a beautiful post on Instagram by Tonya from Blackberry Primitives, you know, the lady that's got the wonderful wool shop. She does all the wool for the Wool Applique projects with Maggie Bononomy and that group of girls. And she'd made a post saying that they were all set up, and I could see that the little shop was set up in the studio where we would, in like a conservatory, where we would have our retreat, where it was going to be held for 2 days. So I thought, oh, I'll have a little look. And sure enough, the shop was open when I got there. So all Stacey's things and all Tonya's things were laid out on the table, all the wool and everything. So I was one of the first people in the shop on the Sunday morning, couldn't believe it. And so I stocked up on everything I could get my hands on, to be honest. So yeah, it was great fun, and I'll show you. So first thing then, Stacey arrived and all my friends arrived, and quite a few of us have got like a WhatsApp group called the Cowslips Cross Stitchers, and that's the name of the group. So we've been in contact since last year. So it was like meeting up with old friends anyway. And there were some new faces that we did make friends with. But I'll show you the kit that was on our table when we first started at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So it came in this lovely Stacy Nash bag. And this is her logo, you know, with her new design now on her charts. And she's got a fabulous tattoo like that on her arm, I noticed. So Stacy Nash designs Cowslip's workshops. And we did meet Jo, you know, that runs Cowslip. She's such a sweet lady. She's actually had a bit of a fall, so she was on crutches, but she's so kind and lovely. So I've kind of ruined the pretty, it all came wrapped in a ribbon, you know, beautifully. And this was the project. So it's called sorry for the glare, it's called the Leaping Rabbit Sewing Pouch and Pin Keep. And you can see at the bottom, it's double-sided, so it's got very dark linen on the back or the front, however you want to say, and a paler linen on the other side, and this absolute darling little pin keep that I haven't started. I started on the pouch. Hardly got any sewing done because we just talked, and it was such lovely fun. You know, you don't really do much stitching, do you? So this is what we had, and it came with the linens that I've never seen before. It was so much fun. Let me show you. The linen that came with the kit was by Blackberry Primitives. So this is Tonya. And it was kitted up with 36 count fossil for the one side on this little card. Isn't it cute? A little bit like Kitten Stitcher does with her linen. On this piece of fossil that she gave us all cut to size. So this is big enough. It's a lovely dark brown, 36 count. This is big enough for one side of the sewing pouch. And I've made a little star. I did most of this the day after I got home with the little dogs. Sorry, I haven't got my board today. So that was that. And then the other half is for the little pillow. And I'll tell you, the little tail, I put some better photos in at the end so you can see it. But the little story was that Stacy last year, when she was in Cornwall, I think she got into trouble with her car. Something happened, like maybe she broke down or had a flat tire. And the people came out of the cottage to help her. And it had a thatch roof. And it had, in the thatch, the little animals. So it had 2 hares on the roof in the thatch. And the girls were saying that that's a sign of, that's like a trademark of the guy that does the thatch. They can put their own sort of stamp on it by having their own animal design. So, and Stacey was saying, you know, she'd love to see a thatch cottage with chickens on, because she's chicken and hen mad, as you know. So yeah, so that was a beautiful project for the Sunday and Monday group of girls. And I think the same kit was given to the Tuesday, Wednesday group as well, because there were 2 separate groups. And the back of the pouch is on this really dark, beautiful 36 count called Salem. So this was dyed by Tonya at Blackberry Primitives, the lady who does the fantastic wool. And I don't know whether she'll be dyeing more linens, but the shop was full of the most gorgeous linen that she'd brought all the way over for us to buy. So I don't know, it was new. I don't think she's ever done linen before. And whether she'll do any more, I'm not sure at all. But I'll show you what else we had in the little kit was all the finishing things. So some of her gorgeous wool. Do you remember the rose wool? If you went to the Jingle Ball at Christmas and did the gingerbread sewing book that Stacey did, I think pretty much everyone did that. This was the colour of the wool that we had to buy from Cowslip, actually, because they do always stock it, to do the back of the little needle book. So we got some more of that, and she put that on the back of the little pin pillow, which was different and really sweet. And then some strips of just lovely 2.5 inch strips of this gorgeous pink floral and like a sort of honey coloured, to make the strap for the bag, and to put the little fabric strip at the top here, so we can make the pouch up according to her instructions. And also included was a fabric that again Tonya had dyed, and it's not the sort of linen you cross stitch on, but it's brilliant for lining the bags and for finishing needle books and things. And again, at Christmas for the gingerbread house, we part of the kit asked you to order I think it was called linen, coloured linen, just for finishing purposes as opposed to cross stitching on it. So we got a nice piece of that, and she was actually selling that with her wool in the big barn. So that was the project we got, which was really fun and super exciting to get. And then just to let you know that Maggie Bononomy was also in the big barn running a, what do you call it, like a wool, a plique class, you know, where they do a big wool project. So that was running at the same time as Stacey was with us in the other place. But I did venture over. The great thing about this workshop is it's not really very formal. You don't sort of, you know, sit down and get instruction. You just start stitching if you like, or you can wander around the whole farm and see what's going on. Joe's got an amazing fabric shop with all the fat quarters, and French General had just arrived, so there was huge excitement about that. So I did go into the barn. I'll show you what I got. Sorry, all this crinkling. I did get some wool because we don't have much choice of wool in the UK. You know, Weeks Dye Works is American, and this is American. So, but Tonya brought a huge stash, and the shop was full. So I did stock up on these gorgeous little bundles. So this is a sort of like neutral browny green. I thought that would come in for making up pears or you know, strawberry tops in that colour. And then a gorgeous green and yellow one that I thought would be nice. I used yellow, like I think it was called Whiskey by Weeks, when I made up my Honeybee by Erica Michaels. So I thought these had come in again, these beautiful sort of colours, but I just couldn't resist that Rupert the Bear check. And a fabulous neutral, like a snow pale pink and a herringbone pink and sort of brown there. And then the last one I got, again for finishing up pears and Stacey's needlebooks, I got these gorgeous greens, one plain and one herringbone. So I could have gone mad. I wanted to go back and get red, but I thought when I saw how much that little stash amounted to, I thought, no, Sean, you can't have red as well. So I left that. So that was fun. That was a little shop I did after we'd sort of all sat down and got stitching. Sorry, my chair keeps shrinking. And then what else did I get? Well, in Stacey's little table all set up, I didn't show you. The kit we got in the morning came with the threads. So we got all the Weeks Dye Works, beautiful, normal sort of colours. There was a new pink, actually, instead of red pear, called Madison Rose, which is a little bit of a brighter pink and looks really, really good on that dark brown linen. It really, really pops and looks amazing. And one of my lovely table friends, Melanie Skinner, because so many of the girls brought little table gifts, she made up this little scissor drop for us. So we, with a little squirrel look and this gorgeous thing. And she had her little cards as well with the same chart pattern on it with the little rabbit, and her Instagram. So on Instagram, she's Next Door Mel, and you really should go and find her to see her little animal crackers. I put a picture in at the end, but she made them. I'll talk about the show and tell in a minute, but Mel did make the 3 of the crackers on 25 count Lugana 1/1, and they were the most perfect size and almost looked like it was manageable. So I'm not sure, we might have a go. And another little gift I got from the lovely Alice Crow. She had a little needlebook made up for everybody with lots of layers of felt and beautiful little gingham. So I've already started to use that as my threadbed for my project. We also got in the kit a lovely little Cowslip workshop ruler with the Stacy Nash that she released a load of these, didn't she, at market? And this was sort of tailor-made for us for Cowslip. So such a lovely treasured memory. Then a couple of linens that I picked up in Tanya's shop. Look at these colours. I mean, they had a dark blue called Independence that I could have got. I could have got so much. These 3 neutrals are all on 40 count. They're absolutely beautiful. The brown was the same, Fossil, but on 40. I just loved it so much, quite dark and grungy. The middle one is called Harbour Grey. It looks more brown here, but it is actually a dullish grey with a hint of beige. And the paler one, aren't they lovely? Gorgeous linens. Oh, and I don't think this is Harbour Grey. This is something else, but this is the palest. They were labelled the same, but it's quite a different colour. So yeah, I'll just hold those up again, the 3 of them, so you can see. So I don't know whether Tanya's going to be carrying on dyeing linens, but wow, her colours were stunning. This one, unfortunately, I couldn't get in 40 count. She only had it. There was a red and a pink in 36. I don't love my stitches on 36, but this colour was just something else. So I thought a pears or something like that would look great on it. So this is called Colonial Rose. What a beautiful colour. Yeah, so I got some fabulous linens. And then, funnily enough, the week before we went down to the retreat, I had noticed that my lovely friend Trudy, who is on eBay selling cross-stitch charts, and she gets them as soon as they come out through her husband's website, Jeff P. Smith, I think it is. So over the years, I've bought quite a few things. Trudy always goes around the fairs, and she's always got the latest charts. And these I couldn't get anywhere except Trudy got them. So when I saw them, I quickly got them just in time to go down to Stacey's retreat. So this one was the Little French Hen. I think these were released last year. Oh no, they weren't. They were at the Jingle Ball, weren't they, at Christmas? And I missed the shop. So I was really excited to get these, and I can't wait to start them. So this is the Little French Hen and Needle book that Stacey did at Christmas time, with a cute little note from Trudy. The other one, which my friend Sarah Stonehouse has made, is this really cool badge. She's just done this and pinned it into her stitching mat, and that's Swans Are Swimming badge on a denim jacket. And then this one, which I don't remember ever seeing, but this is great now for coming up for the summer patriotic stitching, Summer House Pinky, which is just beautiful. So I picked those three up from Trudy when I was in my sort of Stacy Nash shopping, mindset. And then when I was down in Cowslip, I noticed when I was buying wool in the big barn that they had some of her old charts. So I picked up this one. This is Vining Flowers Sewing Pocket, which I just think is beautiful, on a dark linen. So I can't wait to stitch that. Then this one was Liberty Sewing Pouch, which I've seen quite a few people making up. And actually, one of my lovely friends, was it Jennifer? I think it's Jennifer, who was, two of the girls in our class were from the States, and she was from Dallas, Texas. Such a gorgeous lady, and she's my friend on Instagram, and I've seen that she's made this in the past. So when I saw it, I picked that up from down in the Cowslip barn. And one other thing they had in the barn, actually, that I picked up randomly was they had some hats charts reduced down to £10. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them I had in my red box, but this one I didn't have. Mary Wigglesworth, 1812. I've always loved that little chart. I fancy Brenda stitched that, or is stitching it. So I picked that up. And then in the actual room where the retreat was, Stacey had a few charts that she had released last year. You'll remember we had that gorgeous Rose Cottage sewing roll, which is now an exclusive chart at Cowslip if you want to buy that. I thought they were shipping to America. I'm not sure, you'd have to check with the shop, but that sewing roll is now available to everyone. And then this was an exclusive from last year. I don't know when it's going to be released, but there were a few spare, and I've got a fabulous photograph of this cracker made up at the end. So this one's called Henny Penny. It is the Animal Cracker series and sewing roll. So that was on display. And I can tell you the model stitcher for all of these on the beautiful Tonya's Blackberry Primitives linen is my lovely friend Sally Humble Bumble Stitcher, that I'm sure you know because she's got so many thousands of followers and her finishing is exquisite. In the show and tell, we just couldn't get over her work because she's done a lot of the animal crackers now, 1/1 on 46 count. I mean, they're just tiny. I tried to put a picture into so you can get an idea of the scale, but it's so hard to get photos to do it justice. And this was another one I picked up, Buttermilk and Blue sampler that I'd never seen before, made into a bag, which is just so pretty. And then this one, which I really loved, and there were two samples that Sally made up on the table, one in the pale Blackberry Primitives linen here, and another in the much darker, either Fossil or Salem. I think it was on Fossil. So this is called Across the Pond, Sewing Book and Needle Book. And this was a design Stacey did for the needling group that went on to do the needling, wool applique and needling course at Portbury that I can't remember who took that last year, but I know Maggie Bononomy and Stacy were there. And this year, this course is running next week again in Portbury. So they're going to have another fantastic exclusive kit like this with my friend who I've never met in person, but I might go and meet on Tuesday next week because it's near Bristol. It's not that far from me. And she is at Willow and Hair Stitching, and she does incredible wool hands applique projects, all inspired by the countryside, and lots of leaping hares on her project. So she's teaching next week with Maggie and Stacy and Tonya. The four of them get together at Portbury. So I was so excited to get my hands on that, and the models were just stunning. So I've got some photos at the end. The other thing I picked up on the table was that Tonya has made these rather lovely project bags, and they're just, you know, quite simple, and they're based on samplers that she's collected. So her and her husband got one in Stow-on-the-Wold when she was here last year. I think she said it was on her anniversary, and then she picked one up at down in Cornwall when she was down for the Cowslip retreat last year. So these are very, very precious to her. So that's the front with the house. I absolutely loved that one. And the back with the birds. And really simple, just got a zip across the top. They were really reasonably priced. And they're just perfect for fitting in these little projects. And the other one I got was this cute sampler that she picked up. It's just a copy of that. And the farmer with the plough. We plough the fields and scatter vibes. Yes, so pretty. So I treated myself to two little bags, and I also got an extra one that I'll do as a giveaway when I do my main Flosstube next week, hopefully. I'm awfully behind on my stitching, guys, so I haven't got that much to share with you, but I thought this was just too much to put the Cowslip summary into my regular Flosstube, so I'll do a separate one on my stitching next week. So that was my shopping in the sort of Stacy Nash room and in the barn in the wool shop, and I've got some brilliant pictures of the wool that was for sale in the barn, and then I did take my lovely Book of Days portfolio down because remember Lisa Primsong Greenway sent me this as a cover for my Book of Days, but I wanted to take down my Stitcher's journal that I bought at market this year and asked Stacey if she'd sign it for me, and she was so sweet and signed. So I've now got Stacey who signed Happy Stitching in the front of my Stitcher's journal, and they were for sale on the table as well. Oh, the other things I bought actually that were on the table, I did get a little pure beeswax thread waxer. So this is made handcrafted by Taylor, and this is Stacey's daughter, Taylor Nash. So she makes these fabulous beeswax. So this is a sunflower. Isn't that lovely? I couldn't leave it there. I mean, I don't really use them unless sometimes Brenda says to, if you're finishing something through the linen and you need 6 whole threads, she says to run it through, you know, the wax to keep the 6 threads together for a bow around the neck of some of her things. So, yeah, Brenda Gervais sometimes says to use it. And then I did treat myself, again, I think this is by Taylor. It's Stacy Nash design. Garden Mint Hand Balm. It smells so good. And the sweet pear. And there was a blood orange one as well, but I thought, oh, Sean, you can't have them all. In fact, there were 4 flavours. And what you do is you take the balm and you just hold it between your hands. And then when it warms up, it releases some of the oils and you can rub it in. And Stacey says you can, you know, she uses it on her feet and everything. So, yeah, and it's not greasy, which is good because I've gone and rubbed it on me now. And it smells so good. So that's sweet pear. That was my favourite smell, actually, of them all. And then one other little thing I bought off the table was this, because it's a family affair. This is by this was for the little sparrow sewing box. I always wanted that kit, but there were just a few of the boxes left. And so this was the third generation. Stacy and her daughter, and her mum makes these cute little papier-mâché boxes and covers them. So they had just a few of the boxes left. They're empty. I suppose you could line it with your own little red sparrow, but it was just so cute. I couldn't leave it there. And funnily enough, one of the little videos taken, I think I've put a picture in at the end, was of a heart-shaped box covered in white, old sort of vintage writing. And Stacey's mum had done that in an oval and a heart. And Nikki Franklin pinged me first thing in the morning and said, Sian, please can you put 2 aside and buy them for me until I can get down there? She was afraid of missing out. Because she thought everything in the shop might sell straight away on the Sunday. But I think there was supplies plenty for everyone. So that was in the little room with Stacey. And then I went down at some point that day to Joe's Cowslip fabric shop, which is just amazing. I can't believe I only went there once, because I think if you walked around 3 times or so, you would find more and more. So I did stock up on my basics. I got quite a few gorgeous fat quarters. Some of these are the Japanese wovens that just look great for finishing. House of Blues and Browns by Brenda. I thought that would look quite good, maybe on that pillow. And then, you know, I love grungy greens. There's a Stacy Nash, is it Birds and Bees or something with the bees? Sewing roll from 2 years ago that Sarah Stonehouse finished beautifully in these limey greens. So I thought I'd pick that up. It's got a tiny little orange spot or a little flower there. Really cute. And then, of course, a weeny little tiny pin dot in a dark red, which is very useful for finishing. And some standard gorgeous like vintage homespun, tiny check linens. And of course, the French General blue fabric range, Sacre Bleu, was released and has arrived at Cowslip just in time for us. I didn't get that. I will get it, but another day. But I did pick up the, let me show you, the French General woven ginghams, which were just beautiful. And again, I hope I've got a picture in at the end of the wovens all stacked up in a wheelbarrow, just gorgeous. And I thought they'd be nice to make up for thread beds, maybe for a retreat as gifts or whatever, or to make for myself. I do love thread beds. And then my favourite fabric that I found in the shop were these blues. I thought these were the French General, but actually I don't think they are. It doesn't say it. They were right by the French General, but look at that stunning stripe. And I just love a stripe like that in this gorgeous sort of French blue. This is French fabric, but I don't think it's French General. And then I got 2 fat quarters of this one. This is like the most gorgeous, lovely neutral. It's not grey and it's not brown. It's sort of in the middle with a toile. Look at that, absolutely lovely for project bags, or it's a bit big for finishing our pillows, but I thought it would come in for something. I got 2 of those and the stripe that coordinates with that. And then another 2 toile ones. This one's got the grey, like ironwork. It's got a little cherub on it. Let me show you. So sweet. So if anyone can remember the name of this fabric, do let me know, because I don't know. I don't think it is French General, even though it was stacked up right next to the, and there's another different type with the lady swinging on a, just love that fabric. So yeah, I mean, I could have gone mad. And I got the same type of vibe in the pink. So 2 the same and 1 stripe, again, maybe for a project bag, but just the most gorgeous dusky pinks. Beautiful, beautiful fabric. That shop could have done so much damage. And then as I was checking out right by the till, I came across this, and I mean, I couldn't leave it there. This is British. This is Macawa, so widely available. Look at that gorgeous, like Cornish scene, isn't it? Just looks like St. Isaac, Port Isaac. Beautiful. So I got, so that's just the plain blue and white. Again, I thought I'd love to make myself a little stitchy mat. I've got a photograph in at the end of a little mat that they had displayed with this. Someone had done like a patchwork mat and a plique tiny little sails, little flags along the mat. And I thought, oh, I could have a go at that. And then a contrasting one, just with all the nautical kind of theme. Really pretty fabric. Another blue. So I got two plain blues and this gorgeous tiny stripe to contrast. Again, you could do the bunting, the little flags in that. And then a dark navy one, maybe to surround with gorgeous shells. So they were stacked up at the till and totally irresistible. So I was pretty good, I thought, not buying a great big fat quarter bundle. I just bought little bits that I absolutely couldn't leave there that I loved so much. And two other things, just I got these little tiny bobbins at the till that they had with their buttons. I think they were like 45p or something. And I know that when I was making Lily up, I used something similar to this, and I just thought it's always useful to have some of these in your stash. So if you're ever shopping at Cowslip, they do sell them, and you can always thread them onto the little Lily if you didn't want to make, you know, the 1/1 drum that she's got. You could just wrap anything around that, which is what I did actually and cheated. So that was that. Then on the Thursday, there was a separate additional class with Stacy this year, and I managed to be able to get my hands on one of the kits that was a leftover spare for that. So it came in this beautiful bag again, a pink one this time. Quite handy, aren't they? And this one was, again, I've got a lovely photo in at the end of what it looks like. It's going to be on this papier-mâché box. I think you leave it open and it'll be lined, and the cross-stitch piece goes round the box. So it's like a sort of band finish. Let me show you. That's what it looks like. Just that. So the little duck holding the flag, and there's a little leaping hare and a white sheep, which is just fabulous. So it's quite small, should be a relatively quick stitch. And in the kit was the everything all wrapped up beautifully with the card to wrap your stitching around, and the linen to sew on, but also this thicker linen to line the box with. Everything, the threads, and even the wadding. The lovely cotton batting. So that's a little kit that the Thursday class had, and I couldn't do this earlier in the week because I didn't want to spoil the surprise. You've got to be so careful when you're on a class earlier and, you know, the Tuesday, Wednesday group hadn't seen what they were in for. So I couldn't post pictures of this until after that had finished. And then I didn't want to post the drum up until Thursdays had finished. So, yeah, you've got to be mindful, haven't you, of what everyone else is doing. So then, just to let you know, I've lost my notes. They're buried under here. I on the Sunday night, so first of all, I'll tell you who was on my table. Lovely, lovely girls in the class. I've mentioned to you already, Sally Humble Bumble Stitcher, and she was sitting with Alice Crow. And she was also sitting with Paula, who you will know runs the business, Eva Faith. She makes her own lovely, lovely linens, hand-dyed linens. And she's also got a Flosstube. I think she's called the Snail Garden on her Flosstube. And she's very friendly with Nicola, who is Bumble Stitches, who unfortunately couldn't come to this retreat. She wanted to. And I was really hoping to meet her face-to-face because I've followed her Flosstube for years. But on my table, they were on another table. On my table, I was sat next to a lovely lady called Alison, called Lally B on Instagram. And I've actually talked on Instagram, messaged Alison back and forth about the word plays. She was going to lend me the charts. In fact, she did. She posted them to me and they got returned to sender and said they were undeliverable. So I don't know what the story about that was. But so we did have a laugh about that. And then next to me, you'll know very well Sarah Stonehouse, who finishes her cross-stitch pieces in just the most beautiful finishes. She's so talented, and she had an extraordinary sewing box made of leather, antique, and Stacy Nash went crazy over this. In fact, today there's a brocante down at Cowslip, and Sarah, who took a holiday, her and her husband were on holiday in Cornwall this week, she's going to go back today to the brocante with Sherry, just so Sherry, who was sitting next to her, because Sherry was on holiday as well this week down in Cornwall, and they're going to go to the brocante today. And they'd asked, Stacey had asked Sarah, would she take what's known as her collar box, and it's called a leather collar box that she uses as a travel sewing case with all her like special pieces, you know, that are really precious to her. I shared with you last time my travel sewing case, which is just a jewellery box, but this was really exquisite. So I don't think I've got a photo of it, but if you follow Sarah on Instagram, she's just put a post up today about her box, and it is just fabulous. Go and have a look. My other table friend, Sherry, you must be watching Just So Sherry. She's so funny and entertaining, really sweet, and she's from up north. She's a Newcastle girl, and she'd come all the way down for a week's holiday by herself. She's so brave. And on Sunday, we said that Alison, Sherry, and me and Britta, because Britta had arrived early to come and say hello to us, we're going to meet at a pub for supper on the Sunday. So we duly met at the pub, and 4 of us in our 4 cars, and the pub was shut. Would you believe they weren't serving food? So we all decided to pile back to Britta's hotel where we knew they had food. And it was so funny. Britta was the only one that really knew where she was going, and she was leading the way, and we lost her. You know what it's like in the country lanes in Cornwall. So she head off up some lane, and we just couldn't make the right hand turn quick enough because we all had our windows down, lost, you know. I was waving behind so Alison could see me, and Alison was waving so that Sherry at the back could see her. And in that meantime, Britta had taken a sharp right up a country lane, and we couldn't keep up with her, so we lost her. It was so funny. But anyway, eventually we did meet up at Britta's hotel through the country lanes, which is so nerve-wracking, and had a lovely supper together. And then, anyway, we lived to tell the tale. We got up on the Monday, on Bank Holiday Monday, and went back for day 2 of our retreat. I think we did manage to get a stitch in on the second day. And then we had to do our show and tell, which was just amazing. So nearly everybody took a cracker of some sort. And as I say, Melanie had her 1/1 on 25 count, which is the perfect size. And Sally, Humble Bumble Stitcher, had her 1/1 on 46 count, just mind-blowing, weeny ones. And everyone got up and did their show and tell, which was fabulous. And Stacey was just so pleased to see all these things out there, you know, made up in the flesh, and how people have finished them is also different, so inspiring, and it must just blow her mind how many charts she sells. And then we had some lovely table gifts. So let me just share with you some of the gifts that we had. I'm embarrassed to say, the table gifts I took were these tiny little bottles with the cork tops. I made up with sequins. I was inspired by Nikki Franklin at the Stitchery because she's been selling these little bottles. But I only took 15, and I didn't have enough because apparently we were 22 in the class. So I completely underestimated how many people there were. I'll know for next time. So I'm very sorry if anyone's watching this and you didn't get a little table gift off me. That was a poor show. I had this gorgeous velvet strawberry. Look how beautifully this is made in the perfect strawberry colour, made by Paula from Eva Faith. And she also was so kind. She put out on the table a little basket with her business card. And so this is Paula from the Snail's Garden, and she had these little, for your floss drops to hang with your floss, little charms and beads. So Alison Lally B picked this up for me. She said, I think you should have that because it's got a sheep on it, being Welsh and all. So I had that. And then a lovely lady who was with us last year on the sewing, the cross-stitch retreat, but this year she was with Maggie doing the wool applique. She's a brilliant quilter, a lady called Dawn. I've got a picture of her at the end with her basket of strawberries. On Instagram, she's So Daisy, and she made these gorgeous fabric strawberries with this little lace top of the daisy on the top. So I thought that was so sweet for So Daisy to make us one of these. And strawberries were obviously the theme this year. I need to up my game. Sarah Stonehouse gave us this gorgeous strawberry with the white dots in the fabric, all beautifully hand stitched down, and a little bottle of red buttons. I mean, how precious. And luckily put the label on so we know who it was from. So Sarah Stonehouse 5994 on Instagram. Please go and have a look so you can see her collar box. Then my lovely friend Leslie, who's Tuppence Perry on Instagram, who I met at the Great British Sampler Weekend, made these lovely ceramic hearts to hang off your project bags or your threads. So sweet. And I had this off Britta, my lovely friend who's just been on a Norwegian cruise. She won it, can you believe? She won a Norwegian cruise on her cruise last year. And this inside here is a tiny little real pressed flower in a sort of glass resin bed and a little anchor. So it's very sort of in the theme of Cornwall, and although it's from Norway. And so I'm going to be hanging that off a project bag now as soon as I finish this Flosstube. And then Sally, Humble Bumble Stitcher, made this gorgeous, it was all wrapped beautifully. I took it out the cellophane so you could actually see it. This little finishing board that she paints herself, and she goes all around the edge with wax. So it's all primitive and grunged up. Yeah, she's such a talented finisher. And this little swallow charm and her lovely homespun that she always rips, and her friend Jill, who I've met before last year, such a lovely lady, Pink Moon Gazing Hair on Instagram. She went around with a basket of all these finishing trims. So I picked the autumn theme. This was, look at this, gorgeous finishing things. And there was like a Christmas one, red, white and blue for summer finishing. So kind and thoughtful. So the gifts were mind-blowing. And I've shown you my little thing from Alice, and I've shown you my project bag thing from Melanie. So those are the lovely gifts. Oh, and more. There was a lady that wasn't on our course, but she came in. I think she was in the wool applique class. I've got a photo of her at the end. I can't remember. I want to say it's Teresa. She is from Australia. She's got an Australian accent, but she's actually from Denmark, and she loves my Flosstube and follows me. So she came in to give me a little gift, especially from Denmark. Mint and rhubarb covered almonds. So I can't wait to open those and try them. Thank you so much. And then this, the table gift from Just So Sherry. She's so funny and entertaining. The story she told us, but how thoughtful she had one of these for everyone in the room. She must have checked the numbers going. And inside, I couldn't believe this. So we had sweets and tea, gorgeous pack of tea bag. We had a little hand cream, so thoughtful. It's like a party bag of, you know, when you're little and you get all the goodies. A button, a pin, a needle, which I forgot at my retreat, a little finishing kit of like fabrics and ribbon and a little crochet lace trim. How thoughtful. But the pièce de résistance, I couldn't believe she did this. I saw Stacy open hers, Stacy Nash, and I thought she would have just done one for Stacy. But in my bag, I found this adorable little cross-stitched chick. Isn't that just stunning? So I'm going to be hanging that from my project as soon as I've shown you now, because it's got the little clasp so you can hang it off the side of your project bag. I just love it. So thank you, Sherry. And I'm not jealous at all. You're down in the prog camp today with all the girls. I hope you're having a brilliant time and having a lovely, lovely holiday down in Cornwall. So those were the Stitchy gifts. And so that was, oh, and the only other thing I didn't say was I did meet, they've got a fabulous cafe with all sorts of cakes down at Cowslip, as well as brilliant lunches as well in the barn. But when I went into the coffee shop with Britta, because Britta came down early, so we went off for a cup of tea. And as we walked in, who did we bump into but Sue from Peakside, and Adele, her best mate, who's Smurfette Stitches. She used to do a Flosstube, but I've met them at the Great British Sampler Weekend, and Janet Dodd, who's doing the 6 big samplers for her 60th birthday, and she started Eunice Tankerel with me. So it was so nice to bump into them. And then just as they left, I couldn't believe it, but guess who walked into the cafe? And we're all sort of starstruck. Nikki Franklin from the Stitchery. So you know, Nikki is, I'm her biggest fan, and she's the most sweet, lovely person. So we had a big hug. I was so sorry I didn't get a photograph with her. And we just sat down and had a cup of tea. And then I realised that everyone around the table wasn't in the Stacy Nash class, and that it was 4 o'clock and I had to rush back to not miss the final part of the Stacy Nash workshop. So yeah, it was just so nice. So many lovely people down there, so many lovely projects, and it was just a delight from start to finish. If you get a chance to sign up and go, if it's on next year, I thoroughly recommend it. I'm bankrupt, but wow, it was such a good way to spend my pocket money. Anyway, one other thing I was going to share with you actually on this Flosstube, because I keep forgetting to do it, so I thought I'll put it in my extra. I don't know if you remember, but back on Flosstube 5, which I called Falling into Autumn, I shared with you my Stitchery project for the year 2022, and it was the postcards from England. Do you remember? I think it's my most watched Flosstube actually, and I don't know if that's the reason why, because I'd shared my embroidery on that and I walked you through the book and the charts from the Stitchery. But today I thought I would finish off this Flosstube extra with my 2023 year project, which was called the Potting Shed. So hence the title of this one. This is Cowslip Studios and the Potting Shed. And this is how they came each month in this fabulous sort of natural envelope from the Stitchery that Nikki designs everything so beautifully. And it would come like this every month. And the theme was the Potting Shed, because of course Nikki's favourite thing to stitch is flowers. And I finished mine and keep it in this little tin that I've got on a French holiday. I think it had biscuits or caramel biscuits from Brittany. And I keep my postcards. This is how I finished mine. I think actually, if I remember, Nikki designed this to be finished as postcards, as a series of postcards. And so she sent you the caddy postcard paper each month in the kit, and also a little piece of fusible bonding web. We call it Bonta web in the UK, and you can just iron your piece onto the postcard and finish it that way. It's such a clever way to finish. So I thought I'll just run you quickly through these 12 projects. So number 1 was sweet pea, and these were the colour threads for the sweet pea. These gorgeous pinks and lavenders, pinks and purples, Nikki's favourite colour for the sweet peas. And this is the only one I think that has a little poem in. So this is by John Keats. Here are sweet peas on tiptoe for a flight, with wings of gentle flush or delicate white. and taper fingers catching at all things to bind them all about with tiny rings. Isn't that so true? I don't grow sweet peas, but apparently they're easy to grow, and I could have a go at it. And this is what the postcard looks like. So this is long and short stitching mainly, and then lazy daisies for the kind of wreath around the edge. I find long and short stitch probably the hardest thing to make it look like, you know, I mean, it's not silk shading, is it? It's just you put the darker stitches in the centre to try and give it some depth and contrast. Yeah, so that's sweet pea. That was the January stitch. The second one for February was Save the Bees. This is what she said about Save the Bees. So these are brighter. Inspired by the pollinator mix seed packets that are available everywhere these days, I knew I needed to include some bright colours as they seem to attract bees the most. The flowers were designed with a lot of artistic license, but I hope the overall effect is one of bright, beautiful summer flowers alive with the thrum of bees. And these were look at all the colours included in this kit. So we've got all sorts, purples, yellow, greens, and all these pinks and oranges. So it's a really bright, not the normal Nikki of just a few, but really, really bright, which was so much fun to make. And this is what it looks like. So you've got such a variety of flowers, which means a huge variety of different stitches here. So the daisies are piled on lazy daisies, dark on the bottom, lots and lots of layers. The lilacs are just French knots, just piled on to look like lilacs here. And then you've got the purple flowers. Is it Valencian? Something like that. And forget-me-nots are the tiny little blue ones. Where are they? Oh yeah, round the label at the bottom. So again, just lots of French knots and a little yellow contrast in the middle. And then the bees are just some little straight stitches. Save the Bees. So that was February. Love that one. Then March was Forget-Me-Nots in a basket. So what does she say about Forget-Me-Nots? Oh, look at all the blues. Oh, this is my favourite. These are real periwinkle blues, aren't they? Sort of like a lilac-y blue. Oh, so gorgeous, the colours. Look how many. And this is after I've stitched. So, you know, if you ever wanted to go back and make this again, I mean, you could so easily copy this and have another go. So there's so many different blues in this. So you've got a chain stitch for the handles. I think you make the basket first and then you put the flowers in all afterwards. And the basket's made by whipping a split stitch across to make it look like willow. And then these beautiful little tiny satin stitched forget-me-nots. I remember this taking forever, ever. Are they? Yeah, and French knots. The ones in the basket are all French knots, which I could do those all day. I love French knots. But satin stitch takes a bit longer, so it's so pretty. So that was March. Then April is right up there with one of my favourites. This was the carrot. And this was satin stitch. These were the colours. So there were 2 oranges. And then where she's so clever is in the satin stitch, you take the brown and you just put some stitches going across to define, to make it look like, you know, the lines in a carrot. I'll show you. See how clever that is to do the roots in the brown and just a few satin stitches sort of half done in the darker brown to make it look, it just makes it look so 3D. It's piles and piles of padded satin stitch, so it's really quite deep. very, very textured, and open fly stitches for those beautiful little fine leaves on the top of the carrot. Oh, it's such fun. Premium quality seeds. And of course, when you're doing your letters here in backstitch, you do a split stitch to round the corners so that your stitches are always, it just almost looks like a typewriter, doesn't it? So you round the corners with a little tiny small split stitches to make it look, yeah, it's not, to not leave it looking clunky, I suppose. Then the next one, which was May, was, is it Cosmos? Is that how you say it? I'm getting muddled up with Cosmo threads. Cosmos, this is. So this was Nikki's favourite seed that she grows in the garden, that she cuts. She says inside she cuts it to take it in. And this is, so this was, oh, this took so many threads. Let me show you the colours. This is just pinks here. And I nearly ran out of the lighter pink because it takes so much thread to split stitch, fill, and then 2 layers of sort of long and short stitch, and you whip the edges so it's really, really textured, like a 3D effect. It took ages to make this, but it's so effective, isn't it? So lovely. And yeah, so that's the Cosmos seed. Very, very pretty. And then this is a fun one. This is June. This is the foxglove seeds. And of course we have foxgloves in our hedgerow wild in Britain, and really important for the bees. And oh, I got to show you the colours because these are my favourite colour combos. I call it fruit salad. You know those chewy sweets? The fruit salad colours, sort of pinks and apricots together. Oh, just such a winning combination. You could eat them, couldn't you? So that's the threads, and this is what they look like. So this is satin stitch fill, but then you whip around the edges for all that texture, and then it comes together to look like that. So that's the foxglove seeds. One's peach and one's pink. Gorgeous. And then this is probably my favourite. Garden peas. So the only thing to remember about this was the importance of the order of the stitches. So the peas have to go in last. Look at all the greens. All this just for garden peas, all these different greens. Beautiful, beautiful colours. So this is satin stitch, the peas, and they do go in last. So you do the pod first and it makes the satin stitches sort of pop. But look at that, the tendrils and the calyx at the top of the garden peas. Oh, this was such fun to do. Easy grow. She's so talented, isn't she? Nikki Franklin at the Stitchery. And yet she's so lovely and sweet and normal for someone that's got pushing 50,000 followers on Instagram and a global business. She's the most sweet, normal person you ever would meet. Then this was for August. This is Save Butterfly Mix. Butterfly Mix. So lots of different flowers in this one. This again had loads of different colours, and there's a nod to the cabbage, the white cabbage butterfly. So that's why we got white and black, because we did look at all the colours in this one. So there's quite a red in there. And this was for, I love this one because there are so many different types of stitches in it. So the butterfly again is built up layer on layer and whipped around the outline to give it some texture, and tip the wings with black. And then you've got these fabulous bullion knots down here. I love doing bullion knots like that. You've got open fly stitch at the bottom for the green grass. You've got the Echinacea big pink daisies with the white, yellow French knot heads. You've got the, what's this one called? Oh, I kind of know it because I've got it in my own garden, that one. Verbena, the purple seed heads, that's verbena. And 2 butterflies. Isn't it lovely? Yeah, just building it up layer on layer. So that's that postcard. That's probably the most detailed one we did. Then November, pumpkin season. Pumpkin seeds. And, oh, the most gorgeous colours of this one. Because instead of doing like bright oranges, what Nikki's done is go for the duck egg blues and the sort of light teals, and then an apricot, a very pale sort of orangey apricot. It's not even orange, is it? It's peach. And that's how tasteful she's done her pumpkins. Of course, you do see more and more pumpkins that colour now in our shops. So they don't have to be that bright orange for stitching, but look at, so it's bullion knots at the top, sitting in the cart. I mean, that takes hours, but it's so much fun. So she often makes pumpkins up of little bullion knots, and then the big ones at the bottom are satin stitch. Hope the light's okay. Looking a bit dark on the screen because the weather here is so fabulous. It's so hot and sunny. I've got my shorts on and I'm going to be going out the garden now for a cold beer on a Friday afternoon. Love this one so much. The next one's a bit of a mystery. I think it might have gone out in the recycling again. Number 10. Number 10, I haven't got the chart or the threads. I've only got luckily the postcards left. Sunflower seeds, all the different yellows. And the pot, so split stitch for the pot, satin stitch for the leaves, and I think it's sort of like a loose satin stitch for the flowers in all these different kind of warm yellows and beiges, and then the dark tiny little seeds in the centre. Oh, she's so talented, Nikki, look at that. Love it, love that. Then November, of course, would be poppy seeds. I'll just show you, there are so many different reds in here. I think there were, okay, there's three different reds, but they're all quite different, but it's the way you kind of alternate them, builds up the texture. You think they're going to clash, but they don't. Look how clever this is. Oh, I got a bit of white on there. So that's the poppy wreath with some gorgeous open fly stitch, which I love. It's such a delicate stitch, but it just finishes wreaths at Christmas perfectly, and it finishes this one so nicely. So that's the poppy seed postcard. Isn't that precious? It took a long time. This is buttonhole stitch. It's the only one I remember doing in this series, buttonhole. And you whip and whip it around the edge at the end to give it that texture, to make it 3D. I hope you can sort of see. I'm never quite sure what you can see on the camera. Okay, that's that. And then lastly, of course, for December, we had to have the pansy, because in the UK, we have pansies that can survive the snow in the winter. So these are what you have in your pots in the cold weather here. And these colours are gorgeous. Again, the sort of periwinkle-ish blue with the pale yellow. Look at that. That's my favourite colour, because they're part of the viola family, and that's my favourite colour combination. So, this is what this last postcard looks like. Pansy seeds. So this took hours. This is they're 5 petal flowers, aren't they? And the one petal was satin stitch, And then the other, oh, it looks like they've got 4 petals here. But anyway, these 3, for example, is long and short. And then at the last minute, you put just a few stitches in the dark contrast colour to give it that depth again. And it's sort of built up layer on layer of split stitch underneath to make it look really deep, a thick flower. I don't know if you can see. And then satin stitch on the leaves. Yeah, these things take a long time to make, but they're just so beautiful. So that's how they are. I just pile them in my tin, and like the book I made before, it's just a precious memory for me of what we did with Nikki that year of stitching with the Stitchery at the Potting Shed. So I've yet to make my book up to display my stitches from last year, which was a floral year that I've shared with you in January. I've shown you all of them, but when I've made them up and put them in the book, I'll share that again. And of course, this year we're doing herbariums, so it's always fun. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all enjoying the sunshine, and I hope you all have a fabulous, peaceful, stitchy-packed weekend. Take care, and hopefully I'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye.